Good day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and members of the Cha-Cha Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Cha-Cha Let's Talk Music series on the Cha-Cha Music Review podcast. You already know it is me, Afrobeats Donova, your musical plug, the creator of the Energy Force. If you are listening to me for the first time, the Cha-Cha Let's Talk Music series is where we get to talk about everything and anything that is music related. And the topic I'll be talking about today is an interesting topic because I saw a tweet on Twitter or X, whichever one you choose to call it, and it just made me reminisce about the good old days when we still used to value albums the way we used to value albums back then compared to now. And when I saw the tweet, it just hit me up and I just got inspired that, you know what, let me do an episode based on this tweet. And the best way to even make it more original and more unique is to bring the person that actually, made this tweet on the podcast and just let's have a conversation. So without wasting much of your time, I'm going to allow my guest for today to introduce himself.
Yeah, my bro. Thank you. Thank you once again for having me here. Yeah, my name is Ose, music exec, A&R. Also like music curator and Afrobeats connoisseur. Yeah, that's what basically I do. Just talk about music. That's been my life. That's all I know how to do. Yeah, and I have a degree in music business and management. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jose, for joining us on the podcast. Like I've always said, when I bring people on the podcast, I don't just bring random people. Even if they are random people, trust me, they know what they are saying and they know what they are doing. That's why it's always, that's why you always get the best conversation, not conversation where they always boss brain. I'd always give you on top Cha-Cha Let's Talk music series.
See as Yanni just a sweet for my ear. The Cha-Cha Let's Talk music series with Afrobeats Nova. Hey God, conversation with the boss brain.
Oh my God.
Boss brain.
You never spell it.
You don't know now, but I'm going to tell you something.
We'll be talking about the importance of album intros. Like I said, this was what I saw your tweet, about some of the, should I say, top 5 or your favorite album intros, and you mentioned some couple of songs, and listening to those songs and those albums, because I actually went back to listen to those albums again, and it just gave me good bumps about the good old days. And I said, before we even talk about your list that you made and all of that, let me ask you, what exactly is the definition of, an album intro? What exactly does it mean?
Basically, album intros are not just the first track of an album. Yeah, a good album intro sets the tone for the entire project. It establishes the mood, the theme, and sonic direction, like drawing the listener into a world that the artist is creating. Like basically, if you're going to have an awesome experience in an album, the album intro sets the mood for that. You already know what you're getting into. If it just sets like the pace for the album, I like to say that it set the pace, whether it's an instrumental, a spoken word, or a full song. A song intro builds anticipation, and it makes the album feel like a cohesive experience rather than just a collection of songs or a mixtape where you just like put a clutch of singles. And a lot of albums, like, I've made these mistakes. A lot of artists have make these mistakes over the years with albums that they just like, it sounds like a collection of singles to just pack songs together into an album. So, and some intros provide narrative context, why some just serve as like statement of intent. Like you could get like, okay, if you're listening to an album, maybe it's like for therapy or just a song that is, the artist is like feeling braggadocious or something like that. From like the album intro, you can tell like what this is, what you're about to get. So a lot of albums still towards that direction. A lot just like, it just, in summary, it just like gives you context of what you're about to listen to in the album. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like you rightly said, it's more than just the first track on the album. So for anybody that is listening, obviously when we say album intros, we are definitely talking about the first track on the album. But again, like you rightly said, it is just beyond that. It is something that gives the album a whole lot of, experience that you want to listen to, and then maybe like the direction of which the album is going to go to. And you also rightly said that some artists, they've made some of this mistake whereby they just randomly do anything as their first song and and just go on like that. So my question is going to be now, is it that some of these artists, is it that they don't really understand the importance of what is call it an album opener? Let me use that word. Or is there like is it even necessary or important to have that album opener, or like you rightly said, just put anything there as much as it's the first track? It doesn't mean. Does it? What exactly is the importance of having a good album opener?
Yeah, I mean, some artists don't know, like they really don't know. Some artists are just regular guys with talent. Most of them don't understand the business side of the music, and that's why they have a team. So if an album is not basically cohesive, or maybe doesn't have a good album intro, I mean, why we can like blame the artist? I mean, the team basically is what we should like look up to. You guys that curated the album, there should be like something you guys are doing that should tell you that, okay, this is not, but a lot of people too don't have like good ears for music, good ears for good album. So it's basically on the A&R, the team, the executive producer, and all the other stuff like that you can like basically give you a feel of what you guys are dropping as the album intro. And yeah, it is very important like to have a good album intro. Like I said, it establishes the mood, the theme, and sonic direction, drawing your listener into the world that you are creating as an artist. And in Afrobeats, basically, a strong album intro is even more crucial because it sets the energy and the cultural context of the project. Afrobeats is basically like culture. So if you are dropping a project like in Afrobeat, it's really important like you drop a strong album intro, which will be crucial. Like it's gonna set the energy and the cultural context of that project. And many Afrobeat intro like feature elements like soulful instrumentation, reflective storytelling, or spoken word prayers that are often rooted in African traditions. So those are basically what it is.
Okay, I mean that's a very, very beautiful explanation, and I love that. But over the years, we've come to see what we used to call like a shift in album intros. There was a time whereby back in the days whereby when you pick an album, one thing is certain: most likely, the first song you probably hear is more like, how do I put it now? I don't want to say a Christian song, but more like, let's say, a thankful song where, quote unquote, either giving thanks to God for the album you've done or for the way you've gotten to, but something that kind of show appreciation, right? That's like almost like the first song on almost every artist's album back then. And, it's like something we've always come to expect. If it's not going to be the first song, it's definitely most likely going to be the last song, like the outro, of the album and stuff like that. But like I said, over the years, there's been a lot of, changes in the dynamics of how album is even created, curated and all of that. Now, what would you say has been the reason why we've had, more artists focus less on, on a good album opener, or they don't really care about a good album opener? They just want to put out an album there and, that's just it. What would you say has been the reason for this change?
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at way back, like when Afrobeat really, really started, we've always had good album intros. Like we've always curated, like we've had classics way back that Two-Face on Grass with Grace had One Love as his album intro. So we've had like great album intros in the past. But it got to a point when like the Wiz and David were like going back and forth. The market kind of changed to like a singles market. So these guys were dropping like 8 singles back to back. So I mean, at the point we were no longer an album market. And it didn't mean that some people were not dropping like good albums and like still like niche artists or like underground artists. They're still like doing a lot of that. But in the mainstream, it was basically Wiz and Davido had like curated the market to like a singles market. So everybody was like dropping 8 singles like back to back. So that was what mattered at the time. But subsequently, since people don't like to give him credit, but yeah, shout out to Burna Boy. He like at the top of the game, he really brought the album culture back, which like gave a lot of people more context in like the mainstream. So everybody like shifted to like making good albums. So, I mean, lately, if you are not dropping good projects, and project basically is what defines your artistry. So if you're not dropping good projects, you probably won't be taken too seriously. It's no longer a singles market. I mean, you still need strong singles to like push your project, your upcoming project. Yeah. I mean, that's still like the basic requirement. You drop a hit single, then you can like put out a good project. But some artists, I mean, Luna didn't do that. A lot of people don't like tilt towards that, and you can still like drop a critically acclaimed project it's still very important to like have, I mean, some artists still like drop 8 singles. It's still like a basic requirement. You have 8 singles, which like drive your experience into your project. I mean, your single then make the project. I mean, they're still doing that, but it's basically an album market right now. It's a show of artistry, and where Afrobeat is right now, Afrobeat to the world, and all what we are portraying right now, the artistry is even more important than the music sometimes. So, and on your album or your project, it shows that you can actually make a good project. That's what makes you stand out among anybody can make a hit single. Anybody can make a hit single. Anybody can make a hit song. I like to say that, but yeah, not everybody can make good project. So you making a good project is like the show of artistry. That's what sets you apart. And because we're in an album market right now, shout out to Burna Boy, by the way, it makes sense that you need to like put out a good project. And for you to put out a good project, it has to start from your intro. If your intro is not good, I mean, it puts your listeners off. So yeah, that's what I like to say about that.
Okay, like you rightly said, if your intro is not good, it pulls, your listeners off. But now, what do we even classify? We've understood the importance of having a good album intro, a good album opener. The first track of the album has to be good. We've understood all of that. But what exactly do we even classify as a good album opener? Because let's say, for example, maybe I'm an artist and I drop a song and that song just automatically blows. It becomes a hit song. And then when I'm about to put out my album, I make that song that has blown everywhere as my first song on the album. Does that mean that I have a good album opener or a good intro of the album? Or what exactly, makes a good album opener?
Yeah, I like to start from where you stopped. Personally, to me, I don't think if you drop a hit single and you make it like the first track of your album, it puts listeners off because there's definitely going to be listeners fatigue. They've heard the singles like a lot. So listening to it again on the album, some might even skip it, which might reduce the experience, the awesome experience that you want your listeners to enjoy. So your album intro should not be a single. That's what I think. We've had some projects that have been like that. And if you look at the general consensus of that project, it's not really a good one. Yeah, More Love, Less Ego, Wizkid's Money and Love was a single. And then he dropped it as the album intro. Then there's Fame, Davido's A Better Time. I don't need to speak more on that. But yeah, we've had a couple of albums like that the singles are like album intros. They're not really... I don't have the stats right now, but I don't think the numbers are good for that. So a good album intro, like what you could classify. Some artists, we've had examples. Some artists start with slow melodic intros that build up into high energy grooves. So you don't like, if you are going to be having like maybe slow songs on your project, you don't start with the high energy one and then you tire out your audience. Why some use intros as a moment of gratitude, featuring voice notes from family members, offering blessings. Looking at Afrobeat, it gives cultural context. That's what we like to enjoy. While like in Afrobeat, the cultural context just makes sense. So this reflects the genre's like deep connection to like your heritage, your hustle, celebration, and different stuff like that. A well-created Afrobeat intro basically doesn't just introduce the album. It kind of like gives the listeners a vibe. It gives you guys that you want to enjoy the album. It gives you a vibe, making you feel like the spirit of the project before the real party begins. So you can have like your hit singles like subsequently on the album, and you can have like your bedu subsequently on the album. But yeah, your intro has to like just set the pace. Let your listeners like feel laid back, enjoy your album, like feel the album. So whatever you want to make like your album intro, just make it something that set the pace for the experience you want your listeners to enjoy.
Okay, it's all about the experience that you want your listener to enjoy on the album. And before we now get into, some of your favorites, best album intros, because I don't want to say what are the best, album intros ever, because there's always going to be, I agree to disagree, everybody with their own opinion and all of that.
I don't want to get in trouble too. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm always getting in trouble these days. So yeah.
But before we get into that, I just want to ask one more, question. now we've spoken about, the importance and, what it should feel like. But then again, because people listening to it, they'll feel like, oh, maybe does it necessarily have to be like, it has to be a song, or it can be like, maybe just, for example, quote unquote, a voice note, or maybe just the artist saying one or two things, or it could even be quote unquote like what we used to have on some albums, like a skit. Does it necessarily have to be like a recorded song, or could it even just be like an instrumental? Let me use that for example.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be a full song. Basically, it necessarily doesn't have to be a full song. It could be a soulful instrumentation. It could be reflective storytelling. It could be like a spoken word. It could be prayers that are often rooted in like our African tradition. I'm speaking for Afrobeats now, basically. So it could be anything. By the way, it could be anything. It could be a song. It could be a song, yeah, and it could be. I mean, MI2, one of my favorite album intros, MI2, the movie. It wasn't a song, but it was like an action movie. So something like that. He set the pace for what MI was at the moment, which is like the biggest rap star in the country. So he says like he gives you context when you get to the official first track of the album, which was Action Film. So it was this movie of him talking, like getting into like the action groove and whatever. So it doesn't have to be a song. It could be anything. It could be a voice note from a family member. As long as it makes sense with the theme of the album. Yeah, I like to say that as long as it makes sense with the theme of the album, provides cohesion, provides like sonic direction, establishes the mood, the themes, and like drawing listeners into the world that you are creating. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for that explanation. I really, really, enjoyed that. So now let's get back to the tweets, that you made about, what brought about this whole conversation. I mean, for those that are not, following you on X or Twitter or whatever name they decide to call it, can we just like talk about some of, those album intros that you said were your favorite, and why and what made them, what exactly was it about, those, album intros that you liked the most?
Yeah, I think the five album intros I picked One Because I Know You Like It. I picked Wizkid's Reckless. I have quite a few of them, by the way, but I just could only fit 5 into like the video I made. So I made a whole playlist about it where I had like a lot of because I mean I have like there's Rema's Divine, which wasn't in the tweets. There's Ashake's Olorun, Nice Kind of Life, Davido's intro to A Good Time, which is everybody raves about this app. This intro is such a good intro. That's Davido's best, basically. Then there's Odunsi's Rare. There's the bunch Mubuna Feli Feli, Ruga's Store. So I would like to like just speak on maybe a couple like that. One because I know you like it. This is one of I like to call it one of Afrobeat's most important projects. Mushin to Mo It. It's such a good album intro that it could stand as a single on its own. It could actually stand as a single on its own. I know you like it. It's such a good the storytelling, the writing, the melodies of Wandiko on that record. So it's such a good record that set the pace for Mushin to Mo It. And without that track as the album intro, I don't think there's any other song on the album that could have passed as a good album intro. Not even gospel records like Jehovah, it wouldn't pass, because this song, I think this song transmitted into you bad straight up, which was like giving you the life of the album. So it's such a good album intro, yeah. And then Wizkid's Reckless, I mean the saxophone, the instrumental on this, like it just draws you to like Wizkid's heritage, which was made in Lagos. That's basically Afrobeat. So it gives you, and at the end of the day, it sets what would eventually be one of Afrobeat's, greatest album. I like to call it that. So this album intros, then there's Burna Boy's Preemie. That's one of my favorite Burna Boy songs, by the way. So this one might be a little bit preference based, but yeah, it's such it gives Redemption EP. I mean that's an EP. It gives Redemption EP. Such a good and it introduces you to the Burna Boy that would eventually make Outside, which would eventually become the African Giant and who we know today. So yeah, these are a few of my album intros and what they meant. And then I would like to speak on Rema's Divine as well, which is such a good one of Rema's best storytelling like record, where he talked about him being given birth by his mom, the challenges his mom had to go through to like give birth to him. And I mean, River Roses is actually the most streamed Afrobeats album right now. So yeah, I like to think so. I don't have to start, but yeah, I like to think like that. So let me just say one of the most streamed Afrobeat album right now, which it brings you into a world of Rema and how this is his first album. So getting to like listen to Rema's story, talking about how his mom had difficulties giving birth to him, the struggles, the challenges, and how he became divine, which is Rema. So it just gives context to the word of Rema, and that's why it's one of my favorite album intros. So yeah, that too. And the band's Mugbona Feli Feli, yeah, such a very good album intro. Mugbona Feli Feli. The band was like, I mean, it was the hottest in the game at the time. So starting an album like Entertainer with hot, like I'm basically like I'm really, really hot. I'm the hottest in the game right now. It gives, and that's a classic album, Entertainer. So from the album intro, you could tell this a lot of these album intros, like they are from albums that are like classics. So you could exactly tell. It doesn't mean when your album intro is good, that automatically makes it a classic. No, but he helps your case and he builds like a wholesome experience into what we'll get in your album.
Okay, I mean, I'm not even going to what is called it. I'm not going to lie to you. What you said about Rema's Defined, I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't been a big fan of Rema for a long time, especially during the era of Dumibi and all of that. I wasn't really a big fan. But when the album
that's blasphemy. That's blasphemy, by the way. I thought we were all Rema fans. Come on, bro.
No.
I thought we were Rema fans. Come on, bro.
No, I'm not even gonna lie about that. From Dumibi, I wasn't really a big fan. I mean, yeah, I knew he had talent. I knew he could sing, but I wasn't just, convinced like, okay, maybe this is my guy to go to. But I mean, obviously, he has won me over completely without any doubt. But then, like you said about that Divine, when the album dropped and I listened to that first track, Divine, like you said, it made me understood, his personality, his brand, his style of music and everything. And I think that was where, the whole thing changed for me completely to being, okay, yes, Rema, no. I give you top notch. You're like, I'm now, you can now call me, what they call it, your Ravens. The name is to call his fan, and all of that. So that's for that. But if you ask me, I think some of my favorite, album listeners, they're a bit weird because the reason why I asked that question earlier about must it has to be a song is because most of my favorite, they've not really been music. They've just been more of, like I said, maybe voiceovers, instrumentals and stuff like that. And I think one of my favorite one, if I'm to pick my top 3 favorite, one of them has to be the album opener of Reminisce's Book of Rap Stories. I so much love that intro where he did like a Yoruba, what they call it, praise. Right? Oh yeah, money want to sign, Baba. Yeah,
that's a really good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
I really do love
that's that. A really good one. And there's this Eyan Mayweather Olamide as well, where it was just being braggadocious and just like flexing is being the hottest in the game as well, talking about like his achievements. Those are like really good album intros. There are quite a couple. The artist could be rapping and like being braggadocious, talking about like flexing your muscles, or it could be a prayer, it could be like, or being an action star like MI on MI2, like I touched on earlier as well. So you're right, it doesn't have to be a song. It doesn't have to be. It could basically be an instrumental, basically, like it could be that. But as long as it's good and fits the theme of the album, then you're good to go. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think another one I also want to talk about is the one on what is called it LD's album Return of the King. Where he also started with KBC, a medical comes to the monkey when the king boom I ban you. Like you said, it gives perspective into, first of all, even the name of the album, what you were going to expect from the album, even the artists themselves, how they see themselves and how they've involved in the industry. And it's just, just so good. Now, to wrap up the whole, conversation, I'm going to ask you just 2 questions. One of them is definitely going to get into trouble. So prepare your mind.
Let's not do this.
Prepare your mind for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first question is going to be, which artist, in your own opinion, based on how much you listen to the artist or how much you listen to a lot of artists, which artist would you say so far has remained very, very consistent on giving the best, if not one of the best album openers on every single album that they've dropped? You know that, okay,
Wow.
once this artist dropped this album, his album opener is definitely going to be dope. Which artist? That's the first question. And now the second question is for the 30BG and the FC people. Among the both of them, who would you
Wow.
say have had the best album openers so
Wow.
far?
Wow. I mean, can I plead the fifth, please?
And I we know they pick the fifth too.
But yeah. Okay. Let me start from the last one. Yeah, Wiz or David, who's are the best? I mean, it's pretty obvious now. It's Wizkid. Yeah, it's Wizkid. Pretty obvious. And of all the artists that, I mean, the second one, that's your first question now. For the, yeah, say it again.
So the second question is basically, who do you think has had the most consistent, album opener since you've been listening to their album? Like, this person does not falter. His album opener is always on point.
I like to say they are pretty niche artists, by the way. So I like to say Odunsi, Burna Boy, Wizkid.
Okay,
Yeah, that's true.
Burna Boy and Wizkid. All right.
Yeah, I have quite a few. By the way. Yeah, a lot of them. Most of them are pretty much like not your exactly mainstream act, but yeah, I just like to keep it to those three, just for the. But yeah. Those three. Yeah.
All right.
Wiz, Burna, and Odunsi. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie to you. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Like I said, it's just
Ashake has 3 albums too, and I mean, he hasn't missed.
Okay.
On his album intros, he hasn't missed. So Ashake too, yeah, he gets a pass. He hasn't missed on his album intros.
Okay, all right. That's very good. I don't want to say sadly, but we have come to the end of this particular episode. But for those of you that are listening to us right here, you already understand and you know what we've spoken about. So I would like you to either make a tweet or drop it on my Instagram page or in my Instagram DM, and just tell me which song or which, I don't want to use the song, I don't want to use the word song right now. Let me know what has been your best album opener or your favorite album opener in any of the artists that you've listened to, or which artists you think has the best that we have to listen to if we've not listened to it. And I want you to join in the conversation and let's hear from you. Once again, thank you very much for being on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Can you just let people know if they want to, because you said you're a music, you're an A&R, you're a music executive, you do so much in terms of music, and there might be 1 or 2 people that I've listened to this conversation. I've said, I like what this person have said, and I would like to probably work with you in any capacity that they might want to work with you. So how can they contact you? Maybe your social media handle, your Instagram, Twitter, or anything like that.
Yeah, I pretty much have the same handle on all my socials. Yeah, I am _Smeezy. Smeezy SMEEZY. I am _Smeezy. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, basically there. And yeah, on my pages, you can just send me music. You can find my emails on my social media. Just send me music. I like listening to music. A lot of emerging artists can send me music anytime. I also curate playlists, so you can just send me music. Before even sending me a DM, just send me music. Let me listen to music. I just like listening to music a lot. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much once again for being on the podcast. I really, really, do appreciate, and it's been a wonderful, conversation. To everybody listening.
Yeah, thank you for having me, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. For everybody listening to this, I want to say it's been a wonderful experience, having this conversation. Till I come your way with another episode of the Chacha Let's Talk Music series on the award-winning podcast, Chacha Music Review Podcast. My name will always remain Afis Tonova, your musical plug, the creator of the Energy Force. Remember, when the pressure is getting worse, please take a break and take care of your mental health. It is very, very important.
And listen to music.
Yes, and listen to music. It helps reduces the stress. So, peace out.
Time to time for the cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. Rocking with the best, the cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. Alaye with cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang. What's in my body, cha-cha gang. Give me the cha-cha gang, cha-cha gang. What's in my body?